While a prolonged and debilitating drought remains a big problem for Europeans, at the same time, a devastating storm swept through several countries at once. Its destructive power came as a complete surprise not only to the citizens, but also to the weather services, which were powerless to predict the event. France. Heavy rains hit the capital on August 16th after a prolonged heat wave, flooding several subway stations and halting car traffic in many parts of the city. More than half of a month's rainfall fell in just 1.5 hours. The next day, the storm hit another part of the country. In Saint Etienne and Lyon, heavy rain and hail turned the streets into icy rivers. On August 18th, residents and vacationers of French Island of Beauty had to endure a terrible morning. The picturesque coastal scenery of Corsica was instantly transformed into a living hell. The day before, weather forecasters had warned only of severe thunderstorm with powerful gusts of wind. The orange alert level was declared too late. After the storm reached the interior of the island, an evacuation was impossible. The strongest wind gusts reached over 140 miles an hour. The storm blew through the campsites of vacationers, sweeping away everything in its path. Unfortunately, not everyone survived the storm. There were several casualties and dozens were injured.
When we headed for the car, Matthew was still under the tent, so his mother came back to wake him up. We took the essentials and I said, "Quickly, get into the car." We got into the car and Matthew just stepped out from under the tent and he felt the ground shake from the tree falling uprooted. I was already in the driving seat when I saw the dust and the tree falling on us, and I said, "That's it, we're dead."
Streets, houses, and buildings, as well as subway stations and a train station, were flooded in Great Britain. The storm hit the capital first, and then swept through the southeast of the country. The storm also did not spare the north of Italy. Hurricane winds with thunderstorms and large hail hit the Ligurian coast and then moved onto neighboring Tuscany. Several cities experienced flash flooding, with gale force winds blowing down road barriers and roofs of buildings. Complete chaos due to the storm occurred in Spain as well. In some places, the amount of rain predicted for the month fell in just one day. Casualties have been reported. On the same day, the storm swept through many communities in Slovenia and Austria, where it took several lives and caused extensive damage to buildings, vehicles, and power lines. The next day, hurricane force winds left devastation in Poland. For some regions of our planet, climate change is not a remote threat. Right now, many countries are experiencing abnormal natural disasters affecting the lives of millions of people. For example, Pakistan has suffered 3 consecutive years of severe flooding, according to the National Disaster Management Authority. Since the beginning of the rainy season in 2022, hundreds of people have died, and hundreds of thousands have been forced to move to makeshift camps. Dozens of medical facilities were affected, making medical care unavailable to those who need it badly. The ongoing rains have seriously affected daily life, business, and official activities. The flood-affected people receive little or no help. On August 20th to 21st, rains in neighboring Afghanistan caused severe flooding in Logar province. Unfortunately, many casualties and injuries have been reported. The country's authorities appealed to the international community for humanitarian assistance to the victims. This year has been a tragic year for the people of Afghanistan because of natural disasters. More than 500 people died and tens of thousands of homes were destroyed due to floods alone. At the same time, heavy rains fell in northern India. Unfortunately, dozens of people died. There are people missing and injured. In parts of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, hundreds of villages were flooded. Houses were washed away by sudden violent torrents. Seasonal rains in Sudan have also claimed many lives and destroyed more than 9,000 homes. Between 16th and 19th of August, another 17 villages in the El Managil region were affected, forcing more than 2,500 people to flee their homes.
Flood left us with nothing. All our homes, from the bathroom to the kitchen, were destroyed, and the people's belongings were lost. As you can see, we left everything. We didn't bring anything with us. We just grabbed our children quickly and left.
As you can see, hundreds of hectares of farmland have been completely destroyed, and homes were destroyed as well. People were left homeless and had to migrate. This is our situation, as you can see. We only managed to recover a few things, while everything else was washed away by torrents of water.
My children became homeless, and my mother is an elderly person, and I don't even know where she is now. We lost everything, and not a single official has come to us. We only turn on God and say, God is enough for us, and God is the best helper.
We invite eyewitnesses of climate disasters as well as anyone who has specific knowledge of such events to be interviewed. Please contact us, share your story. For the whole world to know the truth, participation of every person is important. At a time when the people of Europe are experiencing the worst drought, the people of Africa are already experiencing its catastrophic consequences. Morocco is among a number of countries on the other side of the Mediterranean Sea that are facing an unprecedented drought in decades. Livestock is dying. The population is experiencing an acute shortage of food and water. According to the latest official data, the water level in the reservoir that supplies drinking water to several cities, including the economic capital, is only 5%. And on a national scale, the filling rate of reservoirs is slightly more than 28% compared to 46% last year. More than 1 million people have been displaced and are at risk of starvation due to historic drought in Somalia. The rainy season in the country, which usually lasts from March to June, this year it ended in May, despite the fact that the amount of precipitation was record low, and in June there was no rainfall at all. On August 19th, the UN World Food Programme released a report that more than 7 million people in Somalia, almost half the country's population, are severely food insecure, and about 213,000 people are already facing starvation conditions. The same report says that 22 million people in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia are currently on the verge of starvation, mainly due to years of drought. There is no longer a place on the planet that would not experience the effects of climate change. Global think tank IEP predicts that more than 1 billion people around the world could be displaced by 2050, including due to climate change. Given the trend of increasing climate disasters and their consequences, does humanity have this time? And how many people will actually have to migrate in search of a place to live? One thing is obvious, that having become acquainted with the experience of the life of refugees and internally displaced persons, one can understand what awaits a person who finds himself in the position of a refugee in a modern society which is dominated by a consumerist value system. To date, there are many discoveries and inventions that can change a lot in the life of society for the better, but they can be only implemented in a creative format where the entire value system is built for a comfortable and safe life for every person on the planet.